Hi, welcome to this final part of my solo tutorial actual play, where I give you examples on how to use the Solo Adventuring Toolkit and the FlexAI Guidebook. I will be using the Dungeon Tactics role-playing game as always. This tabletop RPG is a diceless system that tries to represent the situations that you would see in Final Fantasy Tactics and similar video games. If you haven't seen the other parts of my solo tutorial actual play, please check out the playlist in the description below. Because of the previous encounter with Lithiel, the adventurers have already discovered the whereabouts of Varash, the evil orc leader, and his 2 orc bodyguards and 2 goblin minions. The battlefield has already been generated. I made some rolls in the Solo Adventuring Toolkit, generating the dungeon environment, but because this is the wilderness environment, I have the west side of the battlefield flanked or lined with sections of a river that goes under natural formed slopes on the northeast and south sides. In the west side of the battlefield, there is also a muddy section, dividing the battlefield almost a bit, leaning more towards the east side. There are 3 rocky formations. At the very east end, there is another rocky formation and a smaller one in the north end. In the northeast corner, we have Varash, his 2 orc bodyguards, and 2 goblin minions. The adventurers begin on the southwest section. And so it begins. Cruz points towards the northeast and yells, "Look, there they are! Varash and his force!" Nebulon speaks. As expected, they were already preparing for battle. Jellit speaks. "Yes, it's because of that goblin that escaped us several hours ago. He was probably warning them about us." Varash looks at the adventurers and emits a guttural sound. Jellit speaks. "What is that monster saying?" And Cruz replies, "It's probably orc language, saying something like 'destroy them.'" Nebulon replies immediately, "Watch out, they are coming!" In order of initiative, the orcs act first. I count the orcs as brute, normal, fresh, using the FlexAI Guidebook. I make a roll to see how they act. Its ability. They try to employ their ability because they fall in a barbarian type of archetype. The adventurers are not yet within the range, so they move instead. One of the orcs rushes and takes place just behind a boulder. As usual, I take note of the action points spent. The other orc moves in just next to his companion. To keep track of the action points, I use small pieces of paper. Barash is counted different. He is counted as a brute, solo, fresh. Because he is the leader, he is more powerful. I now roll to determine his actions. Attack main, he is all about attacking. He also proceeds forward. Further south, but also behind a boulder. He has spent 5 action points. Now is the time for Nebulon to act. Nebulon looks around the battlefield, breathes deeply, and prepares for the coming confrontation. He spends this time obtaining an action point. Jelly does the same. Crows decides to act in the same way, looking around the battlefield, and speaks. Those boulders look quite troublesome. A ranged attacks will not be very effective. The goblins now take action. I count them as Lurker, Minion, Fresh. They are in a defensive tactic, according to the result. The goblins wait for a moment, looking around, paying close attention to the best way of reaching the adventurers. They each obtain an action point as they giggle. The goblins are quite perceptive. They actually obtain 4 action points each. Now the orcs have their chance to act again. I turn to the page where they are counted as Brute, Solo, Fresh. I obtain the result of ability. They climb up the boulder, the rocky formation. I now take note of their expenditure of action points. Now I roll for the action that Barash is going to take. Oh, sorry, the other ones were not solo, they were normal. In the case of Barash, he is solo. He also focuses on employing his ability. He moves just behind the closest boulder in the south area. Nebulon moves crossing the river which is difficult. Jellied takes a step forward just next to Cruz. Easily done because of the easy to traverse terrain. Cruz takes a step forward just to the right of Jellied. Now I roll on the lurker minion fresh to represent the goblins. Attack main minor search. The goblins with a pathetic roar move forward as cautiously as possible in order to attack. One behind the northernmost orc. The other goblin closer to Varesh. The orcs can act once more. Now I go to the brute normal fresh section and roll for the orcs. Maneuver. The orc on the north section takes one step forward. Reassessing the situation. This will grant him action points. The orc just next to him does the same. Cruz moves 2 steps. Cruz was confused for a moment. Jellied looks at Cruz with an expression of puzzlement, and Cruz speaks. I am not sure if I should cross this muddy terrain. It is Nebulon who takes 2 steps forward. This way, they are approaching. Jellied moves to his side. Not so fast, Nebulon. You are not very skilled when it comes to close quarters confrontations. Cruz steps just in front of Jellied. I could say the same to you. You are skilled, my friend, but not as powerful as a full-time mercenary like me. Jellied scoffs. Now I roll to see the actions that the goblins take. On the lurker minion fresh table. Ability. The goblin on the north section climbs up the boulder. Thinking giving away his evil thoughts. as he twiddles his fingers around with malicious glee. The goblin close to Barash takes 2 steps just in the middle of the boulders. He already has a knife ready in his right hand. Barash had taken a moment, losing his turn for hesitation. But this also granted him action points. He said as he scratched his chin. Now the orcs can act again. On the brute, normal, fresh table, attack minor search. Boldly, they almost simultaneously jump down the boulder. Roar. Roar. Preparing for the incoming clash. I roll on the brute solo fresh table for Barash. Ability. Barash climbs up the boulder. Now Nebulon can take action. He looks at the incoming orcs, breathes in deeply as his orb pulsates, spending some time to recover action points. They are almost within reach. Jellit takes a step next to him. I am preparing my axe. While Cruz moves just right of Jellit. Better be careful. The confrontation is imminent. Now I roll for the action that the goblins will take. Lurker minion fresh table. Use minor search. The goblin on top of the boulder employs his stealth techniques, laying low to the ground, slipping away. It is now counted as invisible. I take the miniature and place it, toppling the goblin, so that it's easier to tell that he is sneaking about. The other goblin does the same. hiding between the boulders. Now the orcs can act once more. The result for the orcs: attack minor search. The southernmost orc runs at full speed towards crows. But he doesn't have enough action points to make his attack. The other orc charges completely, almost out of balance in his eagerness to fight. I roll to see the action that Barash takes. Defensive. Barash takes a single step and remains up the boulder. Nebula whips his hands, raising power around him. Behold the power of the mind. Purple and blue colors swirl about his head. Behold, I now unleash my full power, and shoots out a psionic bolt at the closest orc. Impacting it in the chest. Inflicting terrible damage. But the orc remains standing. Jelly blows upon his axe. A powerful freezing wind imbues the axe. You will taste the wrath of the frozen peaks. Takes a step towards the injured orc. And cuts with his axe diagonally, targeting the ribs from the right side. An icy cut is left across the orc. The orc almost falls down, his skin turning blue. Cruz, with a glorious voice, replies, "I'll follow up." Takes a step and cuts at the orc. Die, foul creature! His sword stabs the orc just above the collarbone as the creature is almost toppling out to the side. And the orc dies. That should do it. Now I roll to see the actions that the goblins take. Counting as lurker minion fresh, I consider if there is a change in their attitude because the other orc has been killed. I roll on the unprepared table. They were not expecting that. Maneuver. They very carefully move closer. The goblin in the north section is at the at the edge of the boulder. The goblin in the middle of the boulders takes a step closer. Barash had hesitated for a moment, surprised at how easily his orc bodyguard was killed. I roll on the brute solo unprepared. Attack main. In a fit of rage, Barash jumps down and runs straight towards Gross, the closest adventurer. And strikes with his huge two-handed sword, aiming for Cruz's right shoulder. Oh no! Inflicting terrible damage. Oh! I don't know how much more I can take from this. Cruz is in danger. Now the orcs can act again. The remaining orc. I roll on the brute normal fresh. The death of his comrade in arms does not faze him as after his leader has invigorated him with that display of ferocity. There is a minor lull or defend, but following the logic of the situation, he attacks Cruz once, twice, spending all of his action points, and Cruz is dead. Oh no, this cannot be. Cruz has died. Now I roll to determine Barash's reaction. Major search. Secondary. The secondary ability can't kill the beast. Barash spends all of his time pumping up, strengthening and tensing his muscles. And he has become stronger, his body more resistant to blows. Jelly speaks. Cruz has died. Nebulon replies, "Oh no, this cannot be." He cannot take action, he's too winded from the previous attack. Jelly is also too tired from his action. This shouldn't be how it ends. I now roll to determine the actions of the goblins. Major search maneuver. They move closer, confident in the actions of the other savage creatures. I take 2 more pieces of paper in order not to waste time erasing the actions spent by the goblins. And now the orcs can act again. Rolling on brute, normal, fresh. Attack secondary. The closest orc. The orc is close to Jellied and Nebulon quite equally. I roll on the table to determine which one he is going to target. The front line. He steps towards Jellied and cuts with his axe. Inflicting a terrible blow. A gash is left across Jolitz's chest. No! I take another piece of paper to record the orc's action. I roll to determine how Barash will act. Attack major search. Barash takes 2 steps and strikes at Nebulon, cutting diagonally downwards from the left side. The axe bites deep into Nebulon. Oh no! No! This cannot end! Oh! Bleeding, Nebulon gathers his remaining power and shoots out a bolt against Barash. Oh! The beam, the projectile produced from his orb, impacts Barash, but Barash barely feels a thing as he laughs. Nebulon replies, "I'll be damned if I cannot take at least one of these minions." Jelly cuts horizontally, trying to slash at the enemy's stomach. Inflicting a terrible wound, but not enough to kill the orc. I roll to see how the goblins act. Defensive minor search. The goblin in the south runs as quickly as possible closer to Nebulon, but not risking a direct confrontation in his tired state. The other goblin, in a cavalier attitude, rushes with his knife and stabs Jolid, killing him. No! Now I don't even need to roll for the next action. The orc closes in and kills Nebulon, cutting his head off. Shunk! And the adventurers have perished. Pretty grim, don't you think? Now the session has concluded. Very difficult encounter. I think it would have been much better to remain in place, building up action points, and waiting for the orcs to arrive. I was surprised when it comes to the actions, and that's why I love using the FlexAI Guidebook, because you really cannot, it feels like you are playing with a game master that is role-playing the enemies. You really cannot predict how they are going to take action. I think I became a bit confident in the presence of the structures, the rocky structures in the middle of the battlefield. I thought that perhaps, because based on some of the results, the orcs were going to move around the boulders or stay in place or without moving. But the orcs are truly formidable. We managed to kill one. If the goblins, perhaps if the orcs have obtained results of defensive constantly, they would have stayed a bit behind. Then the goblins would have moved forward, and the goblins are considerably easier to kill, as you have seen from the other parts of the actual play. So if that were the case, if that would have been the case, it would have been great, because either Cruz, Nebulon, Jelly, they could have killed the goblins. They wouldn't have been able to do anything. And because the goblins, when it comes to the goblins fighting Cruz, they are at a great disadvantage. They cannot harm him because of his armor. But the orcs moved forward along with Barash. I made a couple of mistakes where I forgot to move Barash, but I applied some penalties, and then I decided to validate his movement according to the context. But overall, very fun. Even though the adventurers got slaughtered, a very fun session. I really like this tabletop RPG. It is quite flawed. Definitely, you need to be an experienced gamer to correct many of the stat-related flaws. There are some errors, the abilities that make no sense. You need to be somewhat experienced, but once you get the ball rolling, you get things going, it is so fun. I would love to run this for a group online, but the thing about the grid would be somewhat of an obstacle. I think it would be much better. I have already figured out how I'm going to do this. Yes. Well, if you actually want to play this one online with me, if you want to hire me because I'm a professional game master, let me know in the comment section or send me a message to my professional game master profile at Start Playing Games. You will find the link to that in the pinned comment. I have already figured out just right now how I can run this online perfectly with your own. Yeah, you're going to love. If you want me to run this game, I already know how to do it quite efficiently and elegantly. Wow. Okay, really excited about that. Well, thank you for watching my solo tutorial series, my actual play. Definitely remember, well, if you want to purchase this, please use the affiliate link. You will find all of these products in DriveThruRPG. It's Dungeon Tactics from Stormforge, the how you say, the CEO, the owner of Stoneforge, a really cool guy. Definitely take a look at his games. And the FlexAI Guidebook, perfect book for solo combat. Or even if you want to run like a multiplayer session and you want to determine that is as a game master or dungeon master, and you want to determine the actions, the tactics, the strategies randomly, this is also a great book. But for solo gamers, this is godsend. Jason Payne, if you're watching this, Jason, excellent job. Keep doing what you are doing. You're very intelligent when it comes to coming up with solo content. And of course, again, from Jason Payne, the Solo Adventuring Toolkit. This one is much better for advanced gamers. When it comes to rules, the systems, the ways of using oracles and the like, for most people I would recommend the Mythic Game Master Emulator 2nd edition because everything is prepared in that book. This book is effectively a toolkit. There are so many separate pieces. It is much better to use it to prepare the session beforehand, determine the quests, the general flow of things. You can use some paper bookmarks or whatever, sticky notes, to separate some sections that you're going to be using during the session itself. But these 2 volumes, these are everything that you need for any solo tabletop RPG, for any tabletop RPG that you want to play as a solo experience. So, and definitely check out my recent review of the FlexTale Solo Image Oracles, the Omnibus. I recommend the Omnibus. Everything is available in DriveThruRPG. As always, thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. This has been Abraham El Jaguar, a professional game master. If you want me to run a game for you, please check out the pinned comment below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you and see you later.